While traveling in Europe recently, there were themes that kept surfacing for me in waves: beauty, pleasure, and presence. I like to think I'm intentional about embracing these things in my life, but it took some unplugged time across the world to see I want to instill these things on an even deeper level. Hi, welcome to the Connect with Sheila podcast. I'm an entrepreneur, self-care strategist, and creator of the Seasons self-care app. I'm committed to helping you reconnect to your purpose, elevate your well-being, and build your version of a happy, successful life. Welcome to this solo edition of my Summer Conversation series. Consider today an opportunity to climb into my mind to hear the inner dialogue that's been going on recently as I have been traveling. And this may seem like a lower key episode because I think I'm still feeling a little bit of jet lag after having gotten back a few days ago and diving right back in to some focused priorities. And I am really grateful for time away, and I'm grateful for preparation before I travel because it really does make re-entry into ordinary life so much easier. And I knew that I wanted to do an episode as soon as I came back to share with you while some of my thoughts from my travels were still fresh in my mind. And I want to start by saying this is my first family vacation that I have taken, since early 2019. In terms of traveling abroad, like getting on a plane. Thankfully, I'm very grateful for the privilege of being able to go to friends' cottages and to rent a cottage in the summertime as well, near family. That's always such a joy for us. But in terms of hopping on a plane, is something that we had really wanted to do for a while, but based on the last few years and all the things happening in the world, it just didn't really work out. And the timing to get back at it didn't work out either until recently. So I'm really grateful for that. And we actually ended up going to Lisbon, Portugal, and we spent some time in the Algarve as well, in Portimao and in Lagos, and we got to see Sintra and the castles. There were just so many beautiful things. Like I can't even tell you all the beautiful things we experienced. And oh my goodness, the food was extraordinary. I know you hear it all the time from people who travel to different places, especially throughout Europe. You'll find just such a beautiful variety of different kinds of food, and the people and the attractions. It was all just so much fun. And I mean, I could go on and on about that. And ultimately, what I wanted to talk about in this episode was all about the theme that kind of was underneath everything. And certainly this is something that can happen for all of us when we are traveling, when we do unplug, where we kind of have a deeper sense of solace, of relaxation, hopefully. And, life looks different. It feels different because you're not in the day-to-day of your ordinary life with different responsibilities. And in our case, we were able to enjoy some beautiful dining experiences where I was not the one who was making the meals. So that was amazing. And it made me feel like I wanted to invite the chef home, like, from every restaurant that we ate at, like, come live with us so you can cook for me. And so it was just such an enjoyable time. But the thing that was underneath it all that just kept coming up for me was just this idea that it seemed, I don't know if it was just me conjuring it up, but I really did feel it when I was talking with people. There was a sense of presence that I felt in passing with, the locals and some of the travelers as well. But also a sense of pleasure that was steeped in beauty, of really enjoying the environment that they were in. And of course, being in such an old city and hearing some of the history of what really took place so many years ago in like the 1700s. There was a massive earthquake followed by a tsunami that shattered Lisbon. and then they rebuilt. And then there were, even prior to that time, the building of the area. A lot of the older part of Lisbon was constructed by people from the Middle East. So there were some beautiful, like that's where a lot of the tile kind of, the architecture and the streets, where that came from. You can really see it once you understand the history. And certainly that's a whole other thing. You should look it up. It's so interesting. But in that, like in looking at all across Europe and all across older places in the world that have been around for a long time, you look at the intricacy of how buildings were put together and the mosaics and the tiles and the way the roofs glisten, the beautiful kind of reddish tile roofs glisten off of the different multicolored buildings, and the flowers that are everywhere, and the smell of beautiful food, and the space people would take to have conversations with each other, and the little shops where people would spend time together. Like it's such a contrast to life in North America. And it was really bittersweet for me because I remembered what it was like living in the eastern part of Europe when I was 18 and I was teaching English as a second language in the Czech Republic. And similar things, right? Like the beauty of the people and the buildings, and just the sense of knowing that so many people walked those streets before I did, before I was even a twinkle in my parents' eyes, and so certainly when I'm on vacation, typically, even on the weekend, when I take space, or in an evening when I'm just walking under the trees and just enjoying my loves, I like to think that I'm really present. I like to think that I'm really in the moment, and I do my best. And also because I'm in this place where I live, where so much is happening, there's many moving parts to all of our lives at home and at work and all of these things in our businesses and with our kids and our relationships and our extended family. There's all these dynamics constantly playing out. So when you're at home, it's very easy to be thinking that you're present, but then there's just all these other little thoughts that are constantly kind of, peeking out of your mind. And so being away and completely unplugging from that, I realized what true presence felt like at this stage in my life, because I know I've had different elements of pleasure and presence at different stages of my life. It's been different depending on the age, depending on the season of my life. And so it was interesting to experience it at this stage. And I was really fortunate that I was able to celebrate my 51st birthday while I was in Europe as well. And it just made it such an extra sweet celebration. And so as I walked the streets, as I ate the great food, as I met the beautiful people, as I, just really engaged and went into deep conversation with my family, I really felt a sense of pleasure rise inside of me that, I realize maybe hasn't fully been there because I've just been so focused on all these various things that I'm doing. And I guess it was a sense of pleasure that I was experiencing, yes, on my own, but also with other people, because typically I love to invest time alone, time to myself, to really practice my self-care, and time in nature. And I feel a real sense of pleasure when I'm doing that. And then of course, a sense of pleasure with my loved ones. But there is something about this level of pleasure because I was seeing it in other people as well. It was like we were reflecting it back and forth against each other, and walking the beaches of the Algarve and just seeing everybody enjoying themselves. It was a real gift, and I really don't take it for granted that we were able to do that. And it's the beginning of lots of travel that we plan to do. And it was an interesting experience also traveling with teenagers, because they had a little bit of freedom here and there. And Peter and I would leave them at the Airbnb, and then we would go out for dinner or just, drinks and have time alone while they're hanging out on their own, and giving them a little bit of freedom because, that's the age, right? And so it was really interesting to experience that and to have them be a part of that and to hear about what some of their dreams and goals are in a really different location, whether it was like moving across the river on a boat, looking at Lisbon from the river, or whether it was driving in a really cool van across from Sintra to the edge of Europe, like the furthest tip of Europe that was closest to Canada, actually, and having the waves crashing beneath us and the wind blowing and just, everything seems possible when you can find yourself fully present and sometimes in a different location. It's nice to get out of the everyday in order to really look at your life from a different angle. And in this case, it was an angle from across the world. So that was really fun. And I wanted to share something about that because these were the things that I wanted to bring back with me. And that was the idea that presence is something that is always available to us, but we really need to make sure that we prioritize it, and prioritizing pleasure as well, because it's easy for us to be putting those things off for a future date that really, who knows if that will ever come. And something else that I was really having fun with as I was preparing for the trip was thinking about, well, what did I want to do? Like, how did I want to dress? What would it be like weather-wise, etc. And I realized I wanted to find more pleasure in dressing myself and adorning myself, which is something that I went into detail on in my conversation with Katie Allen on an upcoming podcast episode that you're going to be hearing in the fall, but I also was on her podcast. So I will link that so you can check it out. It was the Styled for Life podcast with Katie Allen, and we had so much fun talking about style and self-care and goal setting and family and dealing with stress and getting enough rest and the sprints that we need to take sometimes to achieve those things that we want to achieve, but how we can do it in a more manageable way. It was really, really fascinating. And so you're going to be able to hear that in her recent episode that dropped, but also we had a different kind of focused episode that's coming out in the fall as well. You're going to love her. She's so much fun. And it really got me thinking, though, like the timing of that episode was amazing because I happened to be just picking up a few things for my trip when we had that chat. And I was thinking, yeah, I really want to sparkle a little more. I want to play with my own style because I've really been a yoga pants kind of person for a number of years now because, hey, they're comfortable. And I mean, I'm here, I'm in my house. So, and when I go out, I might dress up a little from time to time, but really I haven't had a reason to. And so I thought, traveling, it brings it out in me. It makes me want to think about, well, how do I want to present myself as I'm traveling? How do I want to feel in a different environment? And, it's part of the fun. So travel brought out some more pleasure for me. And it really shone a light on how I want to be more present in every moment of my life. And what's been so interesting, because I had some business related things I was doing prior to my family arriving when I was in Europe. And, thinking about having the space to be able to really fully dive into your soul work, give your all, and have fun while you're doing it. All of it is connected to your energy. All of it is connected to how you're feeling inside. That impacts how you present yourself. And as a result, it impacts what you're receiving, what you're receptive to, who comes into your midst, who is kind of like magnetized into your orbit, if you will. These very interesting opportunities come your way, people come your way. And, just as you feel the energy of someone walking into a room, are they in a good mood? Are they not in a great mood? Are they perplexed? Are they upset? We can sense these things. These are human emotions, and it is an energy that we feel as well. In the same way, when you are living your life, fully present, or at least as present as you can be intentionally, and with pleasure as part of the equation. So it's not just like work real hard constantly, don't have any fun, and then one day you get to have fun, but like working intentionally with pleasure as the catalyst. Oh my goodness, incredible things happen. Like I can tell you the last few years, the things that have been happening in my life with me fully showing up as, the version of me that is just me. Wherever I go, I am me. It doesn't matter who I'm talking to. I don't change who I am. I'm focused on being the person that I really believe I want to be. And you get to do that too. And guess what? Pleasure gets to be a part of the equation. It's pretty impressive. It's pretty impressive what can happen. So I wanted to share that with you. And I hope you can take something from that into your week, into your month, into maybe this next season that you're facing different things, that you can experience more presence, more pleasure in the season that you're in. And of course, I'm going to be talking about this season's app. Go to the link in the show notes to learn more about that. And the season's cyclical self-care primer is a really beautiful way for you to be able to tap into your best energy so that you can live and work and be in your relationships with more presence. Because with presence comes power, and you get to enjoy the journey. I'm so grateful that you're listening. I am excited about more conversations that are coming up, one that will be dropping next week, and many others. So stay tuned for these little bite-sized conversations, and I hope that you have a beautiful rest of your week. I look forward to seeing you on another episode. Please share this episode, rate, review, do all the things so that others can hear the messages that we're putting out on this show. Sending so much love to you, and have a beautiful rest of your day. Big blessings.